increases the pressure in the shoulder, and it also increases the tension on the, sorry, not the tension, but the
Ja, das ist aber sicher. Number? 2-2?
Auch Alphabet, Anna, Anna, Anna.
Jeg kunne bare gætte det bare one shot.
Yep.
Welcome back to an afternoon of biathlon. The IBU World Cup has returned to Hochfilzen for a second day of competition. The men got underway with the pursuit competition earlier today. The women take center
degree of firmness in the track itself. However, it's the corners where it gets chopped up that the hot air temperature can really get in amongst that torn up snow, and that makes the corners more dangerous and a little bit deeper and sugary. So the athletes really have to be careful, particularly in a mass start, to go safely around those corners.
Early afternoon in Austria, so it is still going to get cooler as the sun starts to descend and the shadows start to cast themselves on this very warm winter day. But Scott, we have some. We'll continue to watch the conditions. The shooting range has been very calm today. We've seen very little wind. But in the start order, the French started the season winning by 13.8 seconds over an Italian team that does not have Dorothea Viera as it did last week in Östersund today. Czechia surprised everybody in third. They have the exact same lineup as they had in Östersund. And Sweden has swapped out Johanna Skottheim, who is now on the IBU Cup, with a very recognizable name, Elvira Öberg. What will that do for the Swedish team?
Well, the Swedish team, it is an incredible A team. There's no doubt about it. I think it's the only team that can, on their top form, realistically challenge France today, who also have an unbelievably strong team. Norway, of course, are incredibly strong. I think a lot depends on leg 1 and 2 if Tandrevold can hold it together on the shooting range.
Well, let's look a little bit just by ranking these teams. If you look at what kind of power they're packing, as you see Deidre Irwin, BIP 16 for the United States, starting out in leg 1. You look at France, Camille Benet is ranked 4th in the overall World Cup standings. Jean Richard ranked 16th. Justine Brassard-Boucher, a relatively humble 26th, and Lou Jean Minot 2nd. Their worst athlete is the very experienced Justine Brassard-Boucher, worst meaning the lowest ranked. So how does anybody beat France?
Well, I mean, I think we saw Brassard-Boucher ski so incredibly fast. Yes, in the sprint competition, we know she's got incredible form. And the way to beat France today is to stay with them and hope that Elvira Öberg and Hannah Öberg as a duo can bring forth their magic, which they're most certainly capable of. And I think that I would say that they're on an even ranking there for me in terms of my expectations, Sweden and France.
Yeah, I was being a little bit cheeky because if you look at Sweden's lineup, it's actually even better in terms of World Cup ranking, as we see Poland or Switzerland lining up, Bib 7, Elena Hacky-Gross going out for them. But Sweden has to be almost an equal favorite, as you're saying. Ella Halvorsen ranked 13th, Anna Magnussen the World Cup leader, Elvira Öberg going 3rd and 8th World Cup ranking, and the worst ranked athlete on the team is Halvorsen, and Hannah Öberg is 11th. They are actually probably the team to beat, don't you think?
I would say so, and I think that there's a lot of teams that can contend for a podium. For example, we definitely have Austria, they're capable of that. Czechia, certainly. Italy, I think, are good candidates for a podium, but like you said, today they're missing 2 stars, and that is going to have an impact, of course. It is not the same team that got the 2nd place initially.
For me, Scott, as we get a look at Italy and Hanna Alcantara taking first leg again for Italy. She used to do that last year. She took the last leg last time in Östersund. She'll replace Dorothea Viera at the first leg. Here's Camille Benet, who is having a spectacular season. She's 4th ranked on the World Cup, the 2nd ranked French woman to great Lou Jean Minot. But the parity of this Swedish and French team is pretty interesting to watch. They finished 1st and 2nd overall in the season last year, separated by just 30 points. Sweden took 2 victories, but France was on the podium every single time with only 1 victory. It's going to be a great day to see these 2 teams go head-to-head with all-star lineups.
Well, that's so often the case in a relay. The mind games can certainly kick in, and France and Sweden know that they have the strongest lineups. And the interesting thing about that is that mere knowledge is going to have an impact on their psychology as this race evolves.
You see the effort of Camille Benet in bib number 1 for France, right out front. Total of Norway came out to a fairly, not lackluster, but I would say a shockingly low finish in 13th in the opening World Cup. What are their chances today, Scott?
Well, I think there's the door is really open for nations today, not just because 1 and 2 are France, Sweden. Those are the two big contenders. But I'd like to think that there's many teams that are very capable of getting up there and contending for that third spot, or indeed, if either France or Sweden have a nightmare in the race. Today, as the biathlon, the door is open.
So Norway, they finished third in the women's relay standings last season without a single win, but they did have a podium finish in 4 of the 5 events last year, did Norway. But they haven't won since Soldier Hollow in 2024. That was March 2024. Had no victories last year. Germany's last win was the second World Cup of the season, or the third World Cup relay. They won 2 of the relays last year. Their last win came in Ruhpolding at home last season on January 18th. So Germany also a solid team out there, but they've had some shooting trouble. They're trying to the lineup is exactly the same as it was where they finished last weekend in the 11th spot, which is not what Germany's pushing for. But I think what I see happening there is Julia Tannheimer had struggled last year. They're going to put her right back in that same spot and try to get her to get the confidence. She's back in the second running of the order for Germany. And as we talked a little bit before the competition, Scott, Tannheimer went to the penalty loop a couple times, but that might not be the end-all be-all of this event.
No, I actually think that in terms of tactics right now, we can see really pushing the pace at the front. And I think she's done that because of this technical corner, because of the clustering, and because that 2 big nations, Germany and Norway, are quite far behind. So therefore, it's an opportunity to spread the field and make it even more difficult for those big nations to come up forward and contend.
So the leader at the 1.1 kilometer mark is Sweden in the form of Ella Halvarsson. Halvarsson going out first for Sweden in place of the scrambler last week in Östersund, Johanna Skottheim. They've moved Ella Halvarsson from the third leg up to the first leg to see if she can keep Sweden at the front of the field. One thing that we've seen from Sweden often is they struggle with a first leg person bringing it through for them to the exchange amongst the leaders. What are your chances? What are Ella Halvarsson's chances of doing one better than last weekend?
Oh, it's tricky because she's already. It could be that she's warmed up fantastically. She's absolutely prepared, but take a look at the gap that she has opened up ahead of the rest of the field. That is going to have an impact on her lungs, on her legs. If not now, then come the stand shooting. So I'm just hoping that she's able to really settle on that mat and control herself on the shooting. Otherwise, all of this extra effort on lap 1 will be in vain.
However, Scott, we talked about this in Östersund covering the relays, particularly the men's relay, and that the Norwegian men, Uldal and Botten and the like, the younger Norwegian men coming onto the circuit, they really forced the pace in leg 1 of the relay last weekend, and that really changed the dynamic and the complexion of the men's relay. Perhaps Ella Halvarsson taking a note on that and doing the same today?
There's also one other element, which is that sometimes there's a perception in relays that the first lap is going to be a kind of chilled lap.
Right, exactly.
And therefore, hey, let's put some of our slightly weaker skiers on leg 1, and then we can have ease into it. Well, Ella Halvarsson today has decided, I'm not going to stand by and allow that to happen. I'm going to make this pack suffer.
Well, she's taking the note and giving a nod to the young Norwegian men who did this last weekend and sort of got rid of the gentleman's agreement to just chill the first lap. She's pushing, and we'll see if it pays off. These athletes come to their bib number for the first shooting stage only. From here on out, they will load into the shooting range based on where they are in the running order. So Ella Halvarsson settles in on point number 4, and already into her shooting while everybody else is getting set up. She's got a miss, though, moves to the extra round.
Yeah, fantastic shooting there for the first 2 shots for Halvarsson, but she misses the third, is having to load a spare, which she managed to get, and an absolutely fantastic shooting also from Austria. The 5 targets go down, no spares required. Looking further up the order, Estonia goes clear, Ukraine goes clear, Norway 5 out of 5 as well. Slovenia loading their spare round after having missed 1, but Germany 2 spares in, and they've managed to get all 5 targets, so a little bit delayed, but they all go down. No penalty loop for the big nations.
Ella Halvarsson takes a flyer off the front to shoot from prone. She actually bought some time has a 0+1 using an extra round and still leads after shooting one of leg one by 0.6 seconds over the host country, Austria, Anna Gantler, matching her with perfect shooting. But Scott, one extra round and she still leads. It worked.
It was a good strategy so far, but we have to consider that it's a long race or it's a shorter race, it's dynamic, and if you go too fast, you get punished more harshly on the last leg. So we can expect to see her pacing get a bit slower with each lap, but I'm interested to see how her legs can hold out come the stand shooting.
So taking the unique approach of not just dawdling the first lap of this women's relay, Ella Halvorsen has the lead for Sweden. And for now, Scott, we'll give her kudos. We'll watch as the race unfolds here. She's got Anna Gantler in tow. Camille Benet just 3.6 or 3.8 seconds back. So a tight race at the front of the field.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that it's so important for the likes of Halvorsen to almost relax somewhat, because even if she does go around the penalty loop, the consequences aren't so great. She's got 3 of the very best in the world starting behind her, and that means a lot. It counts for a lot.
You make a great point. So we really, as we call these races, we really sort of emphasize when somebody goes to the penalty loop and the cost of that. And sometimes perhaps we're overestimating that. I think that's the point you're making.
Well, I mean, if you just take a look at, say, the last 15 races on the World Cup, Czechia's had 24 penalty loops, Norway 18, Italy 17 penalty loops, and Sweden 12, France 10, Austria 9, and Germany 8. It's crazy. The penalty loop is almost a 50-50% chance of happening in a relay. So as a team, if we just say, well, one of us is probably going to be on the penalty loop today, that's fine. All that it does is take the pressure off the rest.
So here's a great point. Ella Halvorsen, she went fast up the front, used one extra round, and she still leads the race. She is in the lead, and nobody in the top 8 has a miss. She's the only one in the race. But here's the point. Looking at her teammates, at the pedigree of her teammates, same goes for France and Camille Benet. They have enough firepower that how far back does Ella Halvorsen have to finish to really dash their hopes of actually winning this relay? How much time back from the leaders does she need to be at the exchange to still be a realistic chance for Sweden to end up atop the podium?
Well, the best nations can come back dramatically. It's never. I wouldn't write off a team if they start on the last leg a minute and a half behind. That's absolutely possible. Yes, it does take something really significant to happen for somebody to make a 1.5 minute comeback just on the last leg. But crazier things have happened in biathlon, and that's why we love this sport. The mind games, particularly in a relay, can be absolutely brutal to contend with.
We boil down the task of Ella Halvorsen from Sweden. She gets surpassed now by Anna Gantler. If you look at the fact that Sweden carries Anna Magnusson, the world number 1, Elvira Öberg, arguably the fastest skier in the field year in and year out. She is ranked 8th, and Hanna Öberg ranked 11th. Halvorsen's task is really to come in and be within 1 minute and 30 seconds of the leaders, and she's at the lead of the race.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that, in terms of a strategy, nobody's expecting Halvorsen to be that far back. That's a worst-case scenario, particularly after just one leg. But she's doing her job fantastically. She's applied pressure. She's probably made some of those athletes starting a bit further behind think, oh, I was expecting something a little bit slower. And that expectation, the dichotomy between expectation and reality, is the most punishing aspect of the skiing in this first leg.
So one of the outlying or the overperforming teams, if you look at the bib numbers, is bib number 17 right now, Suzanne Kuhn. She's currently ranked 40th in the World Cup standings, which for her is a solid performance so far this season. She will have Regina Ermitz also having a good season, both of them 29 years of age, 49th place overall World Cup standings. And Tuuli Tomingas going third leg for Estonia, just at 30 years of age, 56th. Every one of their athletes scoring World Cup points except for Johan Talleharm, who will go last for the Estonians, who is a seasoned athlete and has a lot of experience. So Estonia really has a compelling team in the mix right now.
And now Gandler with a significant amount of pressure, despite the fact that she's a very good shot, 86% in the stand compared to will all be cheering for the Austrian, currently in second position.
On a miss.
That's a good second shot from the Austrian. The first one, of course, going wide, but now quick shooting from the Swede, managing to get 4 out of 5. Just like in the prone shooting, an opportunity now to get that last shot with the first spare. She manages it perfectly. The target goes down, and as you can see further back, as Gandler gets her 5th shot with her first spare, Germany managing to shoot really quick with 1 spare, getting all 5 down. Ukraine, they go clear. Norway managing to get 5 targets down only with 2 spares. France, 2 spares. And now the big nations are out and in quick succession. Czechia, they get 5 for 6, and it's looking like the gap up at the front is tightening.
Well, Ellen Halvorsen still leads after shooting 2 by 4.1 seconds. Not a real change in the order as Austria in second, but Ukraine jumps up with a perfect standing shoot from Merkushina, 9.1 seconds back on the podium, and Vital another second, 1.1 seconds back in 4th. Johansson puts Norway in 5th, 15 seconds back. That's a good start for them, and the United States following France in 7th with France in 6th. That is a tight running order, 20 seconds between 1st and 7th.
Big pressure now for Italy. 1 spare round, and she manages to get the last target down, but not a good start for Ockenthaler. She'll be a little bit disappointed, but of course relieved to some degree that she didn't have to go around that penalty loop.
Well, Scott, we saw Dorothea Viera on the start order in second for Italy yesterday. That was actually on my start list today until she was replaced by Rebecca Postler. Probably have to be thinking about Dorothea Viera's chances as she's older in her age, doesn't recover quite as well as she did when she was a younger athlete. Perhaps that's why she's not on the start today. I haven't heard anything official, but probably good strategy, even though it dashes Italy's chances on this day.
Well, Italy aren't looking at the overall results for the relay at the end of the season. Of course, if they end up in 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, fantastic. But the Olympic Games is where they're going to be putting their effort into, and Dorothea Viera's health and her form come the Olympic Games is absolutely the priority for Italy right now.
Getting nice shots of Anna Gandler, the local hero for the host nation, and Ella Halvorsen, 2 extra rounds on the day, 1 each from each position. Scott, your assessment of her performance so far?
Well, it's handling the pressure well and doing her job precisely, despite the fact that Halvorsen is really powering around this course and putting her stamp down for the Swedes. I think that is an excellent effort. But I have to say, the group really is tighter than I was expecting, despite how fast Halvorsen is leading this race.
Halvorsen throwing down a great performance today to lead the Swedes early in this running order. She has a ski score of -2 to the average speed of the field for just by watching her ski today. Maybe a little quicker than that on today's ski performance.
Yeah, just looking at the ski performance around the corner there, you could see almost that Halvorsen was nervous coming into the corner. And quite right, we've seen a lot of falls, and therefore there is a balance between being aggressive and attacking the corner, but also making sure you stay on your feet, which is equally important.
Yeah, you can see when you look at that, if you see Deidre Irwin come through 6th for the United States, if you look at the top of your graphic, there's a sort of lip on the high end of that turn. You really want to keep your weight, just like alpine skiers teach you. You want to keep your weight on your outside foot, so your left foot on that. And if you get on your right foot, you often end up on your butt.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really nice to see that the Johansson of Norway is doing well and used only 2 spare rounds, but just 18 seconds back. And that puts Tangervold in a really good spot for the handover. So I'm excited to see what Tangervold can do. I'm really pleased that she's in second leg, not third, not fourth, the pressure legs.
Well, Scott, now that the shooting is complete, Ella Halvorsen is really free to fly. And she's been flying from the start, but she's pulling more time out of the rest of the field. She left her range ahead of Gauntler by 4 seconds and Ukraine by 9. She now has Ukraine by 17. Vital has moved up Germany into 3rd, but Vital was 10 seconds back. She's lost 3 seconds. Everybody losing time to Ella Halvorsen in this last ski loop.
Well, it turns out that I was, I would say, being a little bit pessimistic, thinking that she was going to slow down as the race went on, but perhaps her form is just absolutely fantastic. And she's earning these seconds, and very important seconds they are.
Well, we both coach athletes. I've been coaching for 25 years, and the longer I get into it, I start realizing that oftentimes as coaches we can overcoach and have to trust our athletes to do what is the right thing for them to do. I think maybe Ella Halverson getting the best of us both on that point, because she is flying around the course. She is delivering in spades, only 2 extra rounds, and still pulling away.
Yeah, and this is the final stage now. They come through the shooting range, and it's after the shooting range they have the handover. But it is also one of the most painful parts of the track for the racers, that plateau after they've given it absolutely everything up that steep hill. So now Halverson coming in to the handover with a fantastic, well-earned lead.
Sweden will exchange in first. By how much is the question? The gap at the last time check on the course was 9.7 seconds. The only athlete really taking any time out of Sweden is the American Deidre Irwin. She's moved the United States up into fourth. The second place is being held by the Austrians, Germany in third, and the United States right behind in fourth. Ukraine has dropped to fifth. Norway sixth. Estonia seventh. France eighth. But only 21 seconds back. Canada with a great start by Shiloh Rousseau in ninth. And Slovakia rounding out the top 10. But Scott, just 27 seconds separating first through 10th. This is still anybody's race.
Oh, it certainly is. And of course, I wouldn't write anybody off, even if they were a minute and a half down right now. Of course, the consequences of having a bad first leg are that it takes the pressure off the remaining 3 starters. They can think, hey, well, it's already way behind. Now it's a miracle if we come back. And that change of mindset can sometimes really have a positive impact on the shooting scores of the remaining legs in any respective nation.
So the lead team from Sweden relies on leg 2, the number 1 athlete in the world, Anna Magnusson. It's a good place to be when you have the lead. Looking at the course total leg time, the actual ski times, Ella Halverson posts the fastest time by 12.6 seconds over the 19-year-old from Finland, Hämäläinen. Gauntler 13 seconds back on the course. Vital from Germany 15 seconds back, so a great performance by the German. Outside ski performance by both her and fifth, Deidre Irwin, 16.2 seconds back. Some names up there that really we don't expect to always see at the top of the running order for ski speed.
Yeah, relays are a funny game because it does seem to bring people forward and bring the best out of their ski speed. Just having somebody on your shoulder and you know that your ski speed in that moment is directly related to the ski speed of the person next to you. Unlike in a sprint, for example, when you can be on lap 1, someone else can be on lap 3, and of course you might be skiing together, but it doesn't make any difference because the laps don't connect. So this, just knowing that you're head-to-head has a big impact on particularly the likes of Quentin Fillon-Maillet. He loves the head-to-head bouts.
Going out second for the Austrian team, the home team that everybody's cheering for. We finished fifth last weekend in Östersund. Anna Andexer, she was on that relay team, but ran in the final leg. So Andexer moved up to the second leg today for Austria. They replace the from last weekend, and they replaced her with third leg skier Anna Jupek, who we've on the skis.
Really a bit nervous there for Andexer. She was coming around that right-hander. Her left ski was in the deep part of the snow where it's most dangerous and most fragile. So it's nerve-wracking, and I do expect that we'll see some crashes in this race.
Andexer got the exchange for Austria at 10 seconds back of Sweden, and she's lost 2 seconds to the world number 1, Magnusson. That's to be expected and forgiven. Germany holds down third place, 15 seconds back. Tannheimer matching Magnusson at the front of the field for ski speed every step of the way. But Tannheimer is really the issue for Germany. If she can come away, the 20-year-old, she's got a 78% success rate from the prone position and only 58% so far this year from standing. She's clearly a talent for the future, but so far has struggled from the standing position, particularly for the German team. And she is the question mark out there right now, but she can match the ski speed of just about anybody in this leg.
Look at Anna at the front. Magnusson will take a look back and she'll see that gap, and it's not just a gap to the second, it's a gap to the cluster of athletes. The chasers are now all bunched together, and it's forming some slightly different psychology in the mind of Anna Magnusson, because it's her lead to lose now. She's got 14.8 seconds. It's significant. She will probably have the first round down before anybody else touches the mat.
But look at the juggernaut between second and eighth place even. Ermit's 20 seconds back, just 6 seconds off of Andexer in second. You've got a battle royale going on between Austria, France, Germany, Tandervold of Norway, who we should point out, Tandervold is a seasoned veteran who is up and down with her shooting, but a very strong skier. Dmitrenko of Ukraine, not a particularly fast skier, but a solid shooter. Chloe Levins from the United States getting a great experience right in the heat of battle here in this big group chasing this woman, Anna Magnusson, for shooting number one from the prone position of leg 2.
89% hit rate in the prone. And now on lane number 1, as is becoming so often the case for the Swede, now leading the overall World Cup score. The first shot goes down. Nobody else has reached the mat yet. The second one goes down seemingly easily. 4 targets hit, 1 to go. And she gets them down. 5 out of 5 for Anna Magnusson.
That's the way you do it if you want to lead the World Cup in a biathlon relay. France and Austria start with misses, yeah.
Yeah, and it's looking really bad for Austria so far. 2 mistakes, but Canada absolutely rattling through it. 5 out of 5, and it's quick as well. Tandervold of Norway gets 4 out of 5, but misses the last shot, just as USA gets 5 out of 5. And all of a sudden, the order at the front is changing. Germany and France finally get their 5 targets down. So too does Tandervold. And now the big nations are on the chase, but a little bit of a delay as Canada move into second place.
Nadia Moser lights it up for Canada with a great shooting performance and trails Sweden by 22.6 seconds and is the best of the rest. Ermit's right on her heels, as is Levins of the United States. Richard of France is 8 seconds back of second place Moser, but that is a huge performance for the Canadian.
Absolutely phenomenal. Such an amazing shooting speed as well. She just got the down so rapidly, and you could just see the targets turning white as all of the athletes around were seeing red flashes, and that's some really remarkable shooting and discipline, especially given the pressure of that scenario. Really everybody up close at the front.
Magnusson, the fastest shooter on that leg. She was 22.6 seconds, or she's leading by 22.6 seconds, but actually the fastest shooting time was Magnusson, and she was very solid on the range. No, Moser's the fastest. Magnusson's second fastest. I was looking at the wrong list. So Moser really doing it on the shooting range for Canada. Ski-wise, Moser statistically this year, even with the average of the field, as Levins, she's a little bit faster than Levins of the United States, who is 1% slower than the average time of the field so far this season. So the Canadian in really swimming in the deep end of the pool, so to speak, in this relay.
For sure, and like you say, the fastest shooting there, 23.9 seconds. And to put that into perspective, most of the best biathletes in the world on this shooting range in the sprint competitions were shooting at around 27 to 32 seconds. And that's for 5 hits. And the reason they're doing that is because this is a challenging range, but despite the fact that this is a challenging range, despite the pressure, Moser shot in 23.9 and hit all 5 without any spares.
At the front of the chase pack now is being the Canadian being supplanted by
It was absolutely phenomenal cornering there from Magnusson. She picked her line really intelligently, barely put on a parallel turn. She just started with the step turns high into the hill. There from Estonia and Germany, managing also to follow a similar and safe line.
Regina Ermitz now taking up the front of the chase. And Tannheimer taking Germany to the podium spots, but it is a lockstep between 7th and 2nd as this group shakes out who's going to finish on the podium at the end of this race. We are 2 laps or into the second lap. There you see the replay how deep that snow is, Scott. Let's just talk about that.
Oh, it's so brave to actually take that line with the left ski is actually up on top of that groove that has been basically put there by the skis of former athletes who have been going around the corner and building up that bank. But the problem is that bank is not necessarily firm. So
right.
The ski can give way because of the pressure pushing the athlete out on the corner, and that ski needs to hold its ground on that potentially soft snow. And for Anna Magnusson, it worked.
It's like sitting it's like skiing through a bag of sugar. Only the problem is if you go right, the reason she would do that, Scott, is there's probably ice to the right of that. Ice forming.
Yeah, ice before that as well on the inside because of the snow plowing, the parallel turns. It just moves away that top layer of softness where the edge can get in and just reveals the ice below where the edge absolutely cannot get in. But really fantastic skiing from Magnusson. Tannheimer doing so well, 21.4 seconds behind, and that was after having come out of chute 3, 31 seconds behind.
At 9.5 kilometers now, you got a nice shot of the Canadian having a great day at the front of this field. Bib 19, the Canadians finished 19th in the opening relay. They're currently in 6th, 31.5 seconds back, but the ski pace quickening, and both Levens and Moser of the United States struggling to keep that pace as Batovska, Fialkova, Richard, and Ermits start to pull away for Slovakia, France, and Estonia, respectively. Tannheimer holding down second now, 2 seconds ahead of Estonians.
Anna Magnusson barely missed a shot in stand. 97% hit rate, and she skied slower into this visit on the range. And so far, so good. 2 hits until the third shot, which was a miss, high left. She needs this last one. It goes down well, and she loads a spare round. It takes some 8 to 10 seconds to fire off. Perfect. 6 shots fired, and 5 targets go down for Sweden as France settle down beside, missing their first shot, and now a miss from the 3 chasers each, respectively. Therefore, an opportunity for somebody else a little lower down the order to come through.
Magnusson putting maximum pressure on this field, and you can see Estonia is the first to rise to the occasion using 1 extra round. Estonia is out and will move into second place, but everybody else struggling. And look at Canada. Nadia Moser is having a great leg, but now has not hit a shot in 5 shots.
Oh, what a shame. Tannheimer does really well to get the 5 targets down. 2 spare rounds required. Finland uses 1, Belgium uses 2, Ukraine uses 1. But it's a disaster for Canada. 5 misses consecutively, and that is after having done so well in prone chute number 1.
And Chloe Levens from the United States also having a similar fate as her teammate from Canada. She'll go 1 less penalty loop. She has 2. So the United States and Canada dropping out of contention after a very pressure-filled second lap of skiing and second shooting for those 2 North American teams. They'll drop down the order, but in the meantime, Tannheimer skied the fastest around that last lap and has Germany now in contention for a podium and maybe a win if things come together. But Regina Ermits, the surprise team of this relay so far, the fastest shooter in that 4th shooting stage. Ermits shot in 29.2 seconds, and she has the Estonians in a position, well, they've never really been in a women's relay.
It's a really cool position for us as spectators as well. Excellent shooting there from Ermits, and cool, composed reloading of the spare. It can be quite a frantic experience trying to get that spare round into the chamber. But with 9 degrees air temperature around them, the sensation in the fingers is at full capacity, as opposed to when it's really cold and the fingers go numb.
Getting the shooting of Tannheimer here. It's got a fairly mature performance by Tannheimer, all things considered.
32 seconds back at the end of chute number 4 after her stand, and that was after having been handed over to 15 seconds back. So only 15 seconds lost for Tannheimer there relative to Sweden, who still takes the lead. Magnusson performing very, very well.
So we've had some surprises. It was Czechia last week. Not a huge surprise, but they put together a team that finished 3rd. Czechia now running in 9th place, 36 seconds back, with Lucy Shavatová having 2 extra rounds on her leg. That is a great performance, by the way. I mean, I think if you look at where some support from the veteran on their team, it's Lucy Sharapova, who have never been able to hit her standing shots, but she's doing great this year, Sharapova, by comparison to her past success. 67%, which is better than her 54% the year prior.
For sure, and of course we'll see that balance out over the course of the season. But just while we're on this corner here, you can see that really aggressive parallel turn there from Ermit, the corner, but it did give her a really good inside line for the remainder of it. And that's where a lot of skiers haven't actually been.
Right.
So the hot sun will be actually melting the top layer of snow.
So that was one of 2 ways around that turn. That turn is going to be treacherous. It's going to be a factor the entire time. Everybody's seeming to not want to scrub their speed, we'd call it. So we saw Ermit scrub her speed, give up the time, and actually probably ski that corner a little bit slower, but it's way less dangerous the way she did it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have to point out, Tangivold doing really well, 39.9 seconds back at this moment, and that's after being handed over to 19 seconds behind. But Tangivold managing to stay off the penalty loop, it almost seems like a little bit insulting to bring attention to that fact. But Tangivold does struggle in the relay competitions, and it's excellent to see her perform so brilliantly in this relay leg too.
This is a sport of confidence and self-awareness, and I think that we all can see that Tangivold is spectacular and has been her entire career. She's a talented athlete, but has struggled from time to time with the pressure of the relay situation. She's delivering today with a solid shooting performance. Here is the effort now of Ermits trying to put time on the German Tannheimer, the 20-year-old. And there is Tangivold for Norway, trying to put Norwegians in the podium positions. She's just outside of it in 4th, 5 seconds off of Tannheimer in 3rd.
She's clawing back seconds with every single stride there, as she's springing onto the lead leg, just as Tannheimer was, actually getting her body into the air. And the higher your body can go, the more drop through the poles is possible. And that's where the forward projection comes from.
Here now comes Magnussen for the second exchange, reaching the halfway point of this women's 4x6 kilometer biathlon relay from Hochfilzen, Austria. Chad Salma, Scott Dixon on the call with you. And at the halfway point, it's Sweden leading by how much? It was 27 seconds at the 11.5 kilometer mark. Has Magnussen pulled more time out of the field? We're about to find out.
Well, this could be the performance of the day from Ermits, as she's coming round and maintaining that absolutely brilliant second position so far for Estonia.
Just to put it in perspective, Ermits, 40th ranked team in the world, or 40th ranked athlete in the world. The team, their ranking reflects how they finished in Östersund, which was 17th. They're now in 2nd. It's a big jump forward, to say the least. Janina Hettig-Valds takes over from Tannheimer. Tannheimer says, job done. She looks proud of her performance today.
And so she should be. It was a powerful last leg, time gained on the leader, and the leader is the best female in the world at this moment, Anna Magnussen.
So you see the top 10 coming through there. Ukraine in 10th at 58.3 seconds back. Highlighting some performances, Sonja Lennamo has the second fastest time to Magnussen in that second leg, moving Finland into the 6th spot, 40 seconds back. Ermits the 3rd fastest time of that leg, which was featured at the front of the field and puts Estonia in what would be, I believe, a historic silver medal position in a Biathlon World Cup relay.
And then talk about surprises there from France. Again, we were talking about them as if they were invincible, but 1 minute and 20 seconds down off the lead after having used 6 spare rounds and gone around the penalty loop once. That is a real shocker so far for France. But to lose 1 minute 20 seconds on the halfway point also means that they can gain 1 minute and 20 seconds if the race leaders also have a bit of a nightmare at the front.
So Jean Richard with that penalty loop and extra rounds adding to the frustrations of the French team. Certainly not out of it at this point. Interesting, nonetheless.
Well, Sweden, as you say, on paper, are the strongest team. And Elvira Öberg, Hannah Öberg, leg 3 and 4 is a pretty formidable lineup. and I can't see any other teams being able to contend with them, just mathematically speaking, just looking at the rankings. But again, what I love about this position right now for Sweden is that it's almost as though it's their race to lose. And then when you come into the shooting range with that psychological dynamic, it makes it a lot harder to focus on the process, and the athletes can find themselves thinking about the outcome.
And these events tend to take on a dynamic that transcends the individual competition. The fact that your team has got you there. I mean, you look at Estonia right now, they are flying. They're going to hand off to this is third leg for Estonia. And it's not somebody that's really somebody who's best finish of 6th place at the World Championships in Oberhof in 2023 in the individual. So she's got some experience at the front of the field. She's currently ranked 56th in the world and is 86% accurate from prone, 75% from standing. That's everything a relay team needs, isn't it, Scott, in the third leg? That's in contention.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. And speaking of third legs with really good potential, Norway, of course, Norway is considered to be one of the top nations in the world, but currently ranked 13th. However, I think they've got past their slightly less confident legs, or at least I've got more confidence now that Knotten is on the start for Norway, and then with Chirkaida going leg 4, performing exceptionally well here in Hochfilzen already. So I think that Norway really could do some damage up at the top end of the field, and equally could be a contender to win this should we see any shooting range difficulties from Sweden at the front.
And Austria now moves ahead of Estonia into the second spot. This is Anna Juppe of the Austrian team. They finished 5th, and she was not part of that relay team last weekend. She's 88% success rate from the prone position, but just 69% from the standing position. But Anna Juppe, we have noted, Scott, is really taking her skiing up a notch. She's 2% faster compared to the field than she was for last season.
Yeah, and I think it's hard to really measure after just one World Cup exactly how precise that data is, and the form changes and fluctuates from race to race, really. But it is really interesting to see, for example, Tuuli Tomingas, she was 0%, really bang on average in terms of ski speed last year, and now 2%, meaning that she's lost pace.
So we see the Swedes led by Elvira Öberg. She sat out. We see the Swedes led by Elvira Öberg. She sat out the first relay of the season in home Östersund, and it cost them. They finished 4th, now with the lead.
And a shot clipping the right-hand side, or left-hand side, I should say, of the target. The remaining shots absolutely central. Oh, beautiful, right in the middle.
Well, 3 of those final shots would have scored as a 10x in a shooting competition. That's about all you need. She's hitting the center of the target, except for the one shot that was just on the rim, but she gets out of there unscathed. Perfect shooting, 5 for 5, and maintains the supremacy of Sweden at the front of the field. And there is a big race for the podium, led by Norway and Carolina Knotten. Anna Juppe of Austria, Tuuli Tomingas of Estonia, Janina Hettig-Valtz of Germany, and Venla Lehtonen of Finland.
Hettig-Valtz and Knotten almost shot for shot, going, all the targets go down for the German and the Norwegian. Great shooting for the chasers.
Now Juppe being tested. She goes clean with an extra round. Estonia with 2 misses. Finland, Venla Lehtonen catapults Finland forward into what looks like will probably be the 4th or 5th position. I think it's 4th. No, Juppe will come in 4th for the home team of Austria. And Estonia still struggling.
Needs this last shot, one more spare, one target standing, and if this target does not go down, it will be a penalty loop, but it does. Great shooting, or great recovery from Tomingas, as France has now settled down, having missed 2 targets.
The time ticking away now as 2 misses from Justine Baissat-Boucher, and her shooting woes continue. She gets her 4th of 5 shots from the magazine, but is really taking her time.
Yeah, it's slow shooting and perhaps very conservative shooting, as we see Gasparin having a fantastic 5 for 5 without the use of a single spare, managing to get in behind France coming into the range, but then getting out of the range ahead of France. Every second is precious.
Scott, I go back to the opening of our show, and I asked, can anybody beat France? And the question is absolutely. 9 teams are positioned to do just that. And it shows you just how topsy-turvy and psychological these relays are.
Absolutely, and I think Breza Boucher, obviously in great skiing form, shooting slowly, shooting defensively, but there was an upset earlier on, and I did expect Breza Boucher to maintain the gap between her and Elvira Oberg, perhaps not close it, but to have lost already down to 1 minute and 56 seconds after being handed over to 1 minute 20. 36 seconds just in one lap and one shoot is too much.
So let's look. France was trailing at the exchange by 1:20. Justin Breza-Boucher then threw down the fastest course time in that first leg of skiing of her leg, and it cost her because she's now 1:56 back with adding 3 extra rounds. She didn't go to the penalty loop, but she did lose time to the field.
Yeah, and at what cost? You know, it's all very well to try and make a comeback or to consciously really attack the course on leg 1 and try and recover time, but ultimately it's better to zoom out. Look at the race as a whole, not as each individual leg, and think, well, everything I spend on leg 1 is borrowed energy, because you have to have something for leg 3, and if you go too hard on leg 1, you'll have nothing on leg 3.
Now through the 15.1 kilometer mark, Sweden has already come through that mark with a time of 41:58.2 as the lead team, and the gap just keeps growing. Sweden left the shooting 5 with 36 seconds in hand, and that has now swelled to 38 and 39 respectively for Germany. And Anna Juppe just trying to keep contact with Hettig Waltz and Knoten to keep the Austrian home team in the relevant picture for a podium spot, and who knows, maybe even with a meltdown from one of the Uberg sisters, a win.
Well, I'm impressed, very impressed with Lehtinen of Finland right now. 50 seconds back, very much in contention, and could easily make it to the podium.
Currently ranked 53rd in the world is Lehtinen. She has a World Cup best of 7th at the Annecy Pursuit last year, her first top 10 of her career. But she will hand off to her roommate on the World Cup, Suvi Minkinen, who was leading the World Cup overall standings coming into this World Cup yesterday.
And it's a really confidence builder when you know you're handing over to somebody who's already had a huge amount of success, had the yellow bib, if only for a short time. And that is the kind of athlete you want to have on your final leg in a relay.
And the Swedes will rely on Hanna Öberg, who's not ranked as high as we know she is capable of being. Hanna Öberg currently ranked 11th, which is not a terrible place to be, but I know she would expect to be higher by the end of the season, as we see Lehtinen now coming through for Finland in the 5th spot, trailing by 51 seconds. But the Finns, with Minkinen, they're within spitting distance of the podium at 8 seconds back of Hettig Waltz.
Well, now it's just a case of whether Elvira Oberg can compose herself and get back to form in stand shooting. 77% this season doesn't match the 87% of last season. But it's a good first hit for Elvira Oberg. The second goes down with a calm rhythm, as does the third. Only one shot remaining for the Swede, and it drops to the low right. She has time. Oh, right in the center.
Doing what she needs to do to keep the Swedish team in the lead, and she will leave the shooting range for the 6th time for Team Sweden with 2 more shooting stages left. That will be handled by her older sister, Hanna Öberg, the Olympic champion from 2018. And here is the battle for the podium between Knoten and Hettig Waltz. Hettig Waltz has a year removed from the World Cup season and is just getting her feet wet again, and she's doing it well so far. She's matching the Norwegian 3 for 3. Austria starts with a miss. Miss for Norway.
What a shame also for Germany there, with Hettig Waltz missing the last shot, but Norway managing to load that spare rapid time and get the target down. But would you look at that, Kuzmina of Slovakia. 5 out of 5.
Wow.
And getting them right up the order.
Anastasia Kuzmina, the the multiple-time world Olympic champion, coming back at 41 years of age, goes clean 5 for 5 in this pressure cooker and catapults the Slovakian team into the podium position, one second ahead of the Germans.
Well, Austria managing to avoid the penalty loop, but only just, using all 3 spares, and now in front of their home crowd get to ski past them without having to do that lap of what can sometimes feel quite an embarrassing lap, but of course it's just perfectly normal in a relay that half of these top nations will end up on that loop.
Following now the shooting of Justine Brassard-Boucher. She got all of her shots from the prone, but used all 3 extra rounds and really taking her time. Another miss. Justine Brassard-Boucher just seems to be in a place where she can't find her rhythm in the sport on the range. There's 4 for 5. Solid performance, but really taking her time. And France really uncharacteristically way out of this relay.
Well, they are, absolutely, and it's just getting further back and further back as the race goes on, which is such a shame. But that is, of course, a little bit distorted, because if you take a look up at the front, we've got Elvira Oerberg there leading, and she's actually managed to open her lead to the next positions at this point in the race. So Brassard-Boucher relative to Knoten and Hettich-Waltz actually isn't skiing as slow as it might appear.
Only 4 extra rounds from the Swedish team, and that is hard to beat even when you don't have the fastest people in the field. And they, pound for pound, have just as fast of a team on the ski speed as France. France, meanwhile, has all kinds of problems. 9 extra rounds plus a penalty loop, and they trail 1:59 back, so they're out of the picture. And Sweden is clear sailing now as they go the final ski leg of the third leg to hand off to the final leg competitors just 2.5 kilometers away. Kuzmina with the fastest shooting time by 5 seconds came down and just showed the youngsters how it's done. And Scott, you have to keep an eye on Kuzmina. She has not had great form the last 2 years, but she had nearly I believe 3 to 4 years off of no training and not being really at the world level. And in a year's time, she has improved her fitness quite a bit and is contending now, at least reasonably at the front of the field. If she can find the peak and find the fitness, she might be a contender at the Olympics.
Well, absolutely, and why not? Look at that really nice cornering, quite stylish coming in and putting on a really hard parallel turn there before some really dynamic steps tight into the corner. Like you said earlier, Chad, there are 2 really significant ways of taking it, and Kuzmina deciding to cut it tight and then hard steps with the outside leg.
There is the effort of the Austrian home team, Anna Juppe. Solid performance, but moves the Austrians down a few spots to 5th now. Juppe was second at the exchange, or they were second at the exchange 1. Exchange 2, they had dropped down to 5th. And now Juppe has them holding solid in 5th position. Vobornikova of Czechia in 6th. Pretty solid shooting performances, Scott. Zeros among the 7 leaders. No penalty loops. The most extra rounds used, shared by Austria, Germany, and Finland with 8 extra rounds.
Well, actually, and Italy with 12, 3 minutes and 36 seconds back. So a really bad day in the range for Italy, and that's without actually having gone around the penalty loop. But just mathematically, if it's 10 seconds approximately for every single spare round used, even though they've shot 4 more extra rounds than France has had a penalty loop, and the 2 are pretty much the same.
Right. Having
4 extra spares is the same as a penalty loop, if not more.
It's double jeopardy. You definitely, if you're using those extra rounds, you better hit the targets, because if you go to the penalty loop, it's just insult to injury. But good point, Scott, is that we think the penalty loop is really the big issue and kind of the big black eye. But it may not be as big as if you use fewer extra rounds. As we go to the final exchange, Sweden leads with a time of 50:11.8 at the final exchange mark. That will be the time that everybody else will be judged by at 17.5 kilometers. It was Norway trailing by 41.5 seconds in the form of Caroline Knoten. They will send out their best athlete currently on the World Cup circuit. Marin Ciricaita, the third-ranked biathlete in the world, and she has a huge task of trying to win this, does Ciricaita. But she also has to try to keep Germany behind her for the second spot, and she'll go up against Vanessa Voigt in that task, and Slovakia will rely on, trying to find the Slovakian team here, Slovakia will rely on Maria Remenova, who is not ranked in the world standings, meaning she has not finished in the top 40. So Slovakia not likely to maintain this level of competitiveness in the final leg.
Well, yeah, and the same can actually be applied to several of the nations. So when you think about France's current position, which is not looking too good considering the fact they won the last race with this very team, I do think that they will climb the order at least to 5th or 6th spot by the end of leg 4.
Czechia sends out in 5th position at the final exchange Marketa Davidova, who is, by all accounts, the best biathlete to come out of the Czech Republic for the women for some time. Austria sends out their hero, the winner of the pursuit in Östersund, Lisa Theresa Hauser. Hauser has never stood on an individual podium at her home venue here in Hochfilzen. Could she put the whole team on the podium today? She's got a chance at...
Well, she's claiming back, was it 30 seconds, 20 or 25 seconds now to Germany and Norway, I think is a really tough ask. But
it is.
She's very capable, and I would love to see that happen.
And Scott, I think the Germans would really have to miss the shooting up. And if you look at Vanessa Voigt, she's about as solid of a shooter as Germany could put on the course.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Ciricaita also a very strong shooter for Norway. And we almost touch on this. I touch on this too much, it seems, because it is possible, of course, for any of these athletes to have a meltdown. I remember Emil Hegler Svensson at the Olympic Games having a meltdown on the range in Sochi, and he had a massive lead coming into the range, and it all fell away despite the fact that he had that huge lead. So anything is possible in a relay.
You look at Hanna Öberg, though, at skiing for Sweden right now. She's 30 years of age. She has faced all kinds of situations, all the biggest pressure moments the sport can possibly give her, and she has prevailed. She's an Olympic champion in the individual early in her career. Do you feel that the gravity of this particular relay, just the second one of a World Cup season that's going to have 5 of them, is that the kind of pressure that's going to melt somebody like Hanna Öberg?
No, it's not. No, not in
loaded
any
question.
normal scenario. I don't think it can. But of course, even just this corner alone is making me nervous. You can see, like, Voigt there as her left ski was in the top of the brow of that slightly raised section of snow. I do get nervous, and I really hope we don't see a fall there, because that would be an unfortunate place to have an incident.
So the real question mark for Slovakia, who is having a great relay here, largely off of the efforts of Emma Kapustova, Paulina Batowska-Fialkova, and Anastasia Kuzmina. Maria Remenova, who has a personal best finish in World Cup competition of 49th at the World Championships individual in Oberhof in 2023. She has a huge task by comparison to the pedigree she's on the course with right now and fighting with for the podium spots.
Vanessa Voigt for Germany, an exceptional shooter, an exceptional skier. But Lou Jean-Minot, as she just contended with that corner we were just discussing, now has a real battle on her hands. But if anybody was to be handed the gauntlet to try and close down a gap, it would be Lou Jean-Minot. 2 minutes and 4 seconds back off the lead, however, and that's after having been handed over at 1 minute 55. She's lost time.
And Öberg comes into the shooting range for the first of 2 shooting stages for the final leg of this women's 4x6 kilometer relay from Hochfilzen, Austria. Hanna Öberg led by 51.7 seconds at the last check of the time on course. She starts with a miss, though, then hits 2 in great cadence, misses her 4th and misses a 5th, Scott.
Well, it was right on the edge on the left-hand side, just like the first shot. The second miss was on the opposite side, on the right-hand side, as you can see there. And now, these seconds are precious. Although that last hit did go down, and it went down easily, she lost a lot of time there on reloading that round into the chamber, but those two misses are disconcerting.
Certainly pensive moments for the Swedish team there as she held your breath as Hanna Öberg struggled to get that extra round into her chamber, the seconds ticking away. Now she led by 52 seconds coming into the shooting range over Chirkaida. Chirkaida could eat into this as 13 now just passing 15 seconds, but she's going to have to be perfect, and she's not.
No, the first one doesn't go down. It's a nerve-wracking moment, and she needs to run her own race, not thinking about the other sounds of the crowd cheering and everything else happening around her as the poles drop onto the mat, the ski splatter. So far, so good for Voigt of Germany. 3 out of 3, now 4 out of 4 as Norway gets away with their 5 targets down. Germany go 5 for 5, and the crowd go absolutely wild.
This venue just kilometers away from the German border, and the German fans flood Hochfilzen every year, and they've come to see a potentially podium finish for the women's team. Vanessa Voigt is absolutely a solid shooter. She gave all kinds of positive strength and a very solid performance that gave you no chance to really doubt her. She holds the 3rd spot now solidly for Germany. Remenova doing a good job for Slovakia, keeping them within striking distance, but Suvi Minkinen is coming for Vanessa Voigt or Maren Chirkaida if they have any kind of problems on the final shooting stage.
Oh, making it so hard for Hauser to close that gap. Now Minkinen really performing well. Remenova doing such a good job to get all 5 targets down, but now can Lou Jean-Monod do exactly the same? So far so good. Oh, absolutely fantastic shooting from Lou Jean-Monod.
Well, it's a wonderful performance by Lou Jean-Monod. I think she was just given too big of a gap to make it up, though, so now she just has to go out and do good biathlon, which she is doing so far. But Hanna Öberg, a little bit questionable from the prone position, missing 2 shots from the magazine, putting the next 2 down with the extra rounds, but really giving away some time in the process. Chirkaida came into shooting into the shooting range 41 seconds back and loses actually a little bit of time to Öberg in the first shooting stage.
Well, Minkinen, 22.3 seconds to get her 5 targets down. Jean-Monod, 24.7. But the leader, 42.8. So far of the 9 teams that have gone through, Hanna Öberg was the slowest to get all 5 targets down.
But she was the fastest on the course by a factor of 12 seconds over Chirkaida. So Hanna Öberg maybe not shooting at her very best, but certainly close to skiing at her very best with that kind of a 12-second lead in just one ski lap.
Well, I wonder if the speed on that first lap had any implications for her shooting. She did shoot very quickly, and I wonder if she needed to take the pace off ever so slightly as she came in. But of course, she knows her body incredibly well. She knows what she's capable of shooting fast at in terms of heart rate and breathlessness.
Suvi Minkinen now goes past Remenova of Slovakia, which is not surprising, considering Minkinen is the 5th ranked biathlete in the world at the moment. And here's Chirkaida around that sketchy corner. It's got to almost say it's improving as the course probably firms up as the sun goes down. Maybe not quite as treacherous as it was a half hour ago or an hour ago.
Well, I would like to think that they were watching the men's race and saw that there is a good chance that is where injuries can happen, accidents can happen, and just taking it carefully. Of course, those who take the highest risk can stand to gain the most, but Minkinen, just as we were talking about it, looked to me to struggle into the corner to actually lose quite a bit of time to Remenova there, who managed to actually close the gap on Minkinen just by taking the corner better.
Yeah, Minkinen not giving me a ton of confidence around that turn. Hauser, who hails from Austria and this venue, should know this venue very well. And from my experience, Austrians tend to know how to alpine ski very well and handle their skis downhill. But she looked a little bit pensive there as well.
Oh, well, it's so great when we have corners that do add a little bit of excitement. As long as there's no injuries, as long as there's no accidents, it does mean that those who are technically stronger on the downhill sections can stand to gain or lose time. It's not all about who can get up the hill the fastest. It's who can get around the corners fast too.
Here's the 21.5 kilometer time check. The gap at the shooting range, shooting 7, between Sweden and Norway was 48.5 seconds. It grew to 50.2 at the 21.1, and just 0.4 of a kilometer later, Chirkaida coughs up another 1.5 seconds to the speed that is being put to the course by Hanna Öberg. Voigt loses 5 seconds from 21.1 kilometers and a full 10 seconds from the shooting range. Now, the final shooting stage for all the marbles. Hanna Öberg can just about have a disaster and still have a chance to win this, as she leads by over 50 seconds coming in to shooting number 8.
First shot would have put down a prone target. The third was just a little bit too fast. She settled, she took the extra breath, and then she was composed. Even now with 3 extra spare rounds, it would be hard for anybody to touch the Swedes.
Scott, it was almost like she almost gave up control of the shooting situation after that miss in the third one. She kind of was speeding up and she caught herself and resettled. An absolute pro at reading the situation well.
Yeah, complete composure there and fantastic last shot right in the center of the target. And Hanna Öberg with a masterful control of her shooting and awareness in the moment to rebreathe, resettle, and get that final shot.
Now entering the shooting range, Chirkaida with a miss on the first one.
The remaining 4 go down, and just as Voigt gets settled to fire her first shot, Chirkaida of Norway struggles to get the first target, as the cheers from the crowd will certainly be affecting Chirkaida's performance, but she manages to get down the 5th shot. And now Germany needing this last shot. Voigt manages also without the use of a single spare and is very much on the hunt.
Suvi Minkin with a chance to move into a fight for the bronze medal with Chirkaida and Voigt. But that last miss might have cost Minkin the opportunity to fight for it. Slovakia stays in there as well. Remenova
Wow.
matching shot for shot with Minkin, and the 6th place team, or the 2nd through 5th, separated now by about 14 seconds.
And a penalty loop for the home team. Austria did not manage to get all of the targets down at the first time of asking, and now, even with a spare, are going to be on the penalty loop at least one time, and now, unfortunately, it will be twice for Austria. 300 meters of extra skiing as France gets away with the use of just one spare.
So the hometown blockage for Lisa Theresa Hauser continues. The Austrian goes to the penalty loop twice in the final shooting stages and dashes the hopes of the Austrian squad, who had really contended most of the competition. Remenova, the fastest shooting time of the field, is 22 seconds, and Minkin in second, 25.8. They chase each other now, trying to catch Voigt for the third medal, for the third and final spot on the podium.
Now Voigt is definitely capable of closing that 5-second gap, and Chirkaida will know that if she does, it becomes a psychological battle. It becomes a sprint finish. So Chirkaida is now motivated to ensure that that gap does not close.
There's the gap. Second to third. Minkin in 13 seconds behind. Probably not going to figure into it in just a 2-kilometer lap.
The cost here, if Chirkaida goes too hard and tries to keep that gap from closing, then when it comes to the hill, the final stage of the course, the legs can be so punished, the body can be so exhausted, that it's an opportunity for Voigt to pace herself strategically, intelligently, and make a move in the latter part of the course. But that gap does not appear to be closing as of yet.
Statistically, these athletes are only separated by a percentage of the ski speed they've exhibited so far this season. That's too tight to call it today, isn't it?
Oh, for sure. And I think it comes down to the motivation, the adrenaline in the moment. And I think Minkkinen is really in fantastic form. As you can see there, 1 minute and 16 seconds she came out of the 15 seconds behind the leader. And we'll see how that has opened up at this checkpoint.
Chirkaida over 45 seconds back of the leader Sweden with Hanna Öberg bringing it home for the Swedish team. 48.8 seconds the gap. Now Vanessa Voigt, is she closing? At shooting in, the gap's about the same.
Chirkaida now will be encouraged and receiving the support from the coaches at the side of the track and needing to really keep on that pressure. She's managed to open up the gap ever so slightly, but the biggest hill is yet to come, and the wax technicians are going to be tested at this section of the track as they go under the tunnels. This is all in the shade, and this will determine just a few seconds here or there, but every second counts now, and they need it as much in the rest as they do on the climbs.
Chirkaida gaining just a second between the shooting range and 23.1 kilometer mark over Voigt, so it's not a huge thing, but at the front of the field, she's gotten the Swedish flag and will fly its colors proudly as she comes down the final 100 meters into the finishing loop, and Sweden will be the best team in the world today as they come across the line. A spectacular shooting performance of 0+7, just 7 extra rounds used, and Sweden crosses the line, the winner of the second World Cup relay of the season.
They led it from the very beginning. It was controlled. It seemed like they had a strategy that was perfectly implemented, and they were the strongest team on paper, and they also managed to be the strongest team in practice. What a race from the Swedes.
France nowhere to be seen, but Norway did not get a win last year. They won't get a win this year, but they will get on the podium after a 13th place, an abysmal by Norway standards finish in the opening relay. They move all the way up to second. Maren Chirkaida takes it home for them, and a little smile of relief on the face of Maren Chirkaida.
And even without the Preuss, the Preuss being such a fantastic part of the German team not being present, we've managed to see Voigt take the Germans across the line in third place.
Germany in third. Finland, a great fourth place finish for them. They finished sixth in Östersund, so they come up 2 places, and that is promising for the Olympic Games for the Finns. And Remenova, the Slovakian, having a great performance. She's happy with herself, and she should be. She brings them across the line, Slovakia, in 5th place.
That's a brilliant result for Slovakia, and a team effort. There's no doubt about that, as Lou Jean-Minot manages to get France all the way up into 6th place. That's after handing over at the third exchange, France being all the way down in 9th.
Great performance by the Slovakian team, beating their neighbors Czechia, who finished 3rd in the opening relay. They finished 7th today. And Austria, in the form of Lisa Theresa Hauser. You have to feel for the local. She trains here all year round. Hochfilzen is her home, and she has really never not delivered a landmark performance on her home venue. I thought maybe there would be a chance today with the way Austria was rolling early in the order and coming off their 5th place finish in Östersund, but today it will not be the case. Still a respectable 6th place for Austria, but you can feel the disappointment on Lisa Theresa Hauser as she comes to the finish line.
Well, you always ask the question, is it possible now for somebody like Hannah Oberg to lose all that lead that she had? And the answer is, it is absolutely possible, because Lisa Hauser is one of the best in the world. And for that to have happened to her on this race, it could happen to any of these top-level athletes. And it is the unfortunate part of biathlon, where the unexpected sometimes occurs.
Switzerland comes to the finish line after finishing 7th in the opening World Cup in Östersund. They will come across the line in 9th. Still a solid performance in the top 10. Trailing their neighbors, their geographical neighbors, Austria, by one place, and 30 seconds almost to the exact second. Scott, Italy really never factored into it, but not terribly surprised without the firepower of Dorothea Vier on the start order.
No, and I don't think they were expecting a top result, but they certainly weren't expecting 17th place. That team of Italians were absolutely capable of being in the top 8, and that's saying Well, that, I mean, of course, even better than that is certainly possible. 17th being their handover at leg 3, not their final end position.
Sweden feeling good about their efforts today. Ukraine, they figured into it early, but struggled on the shooting range, 12 extra rounds total, and they finish in 10th. Italy, with the same shooting performance, follows them by 12 seconds into 11th spot as Lisa Vitozzi comes across the line for the day. These women, who finished in the top 60 yesterday, will get ready for a pursuit competition tomorrow following the men's relay. And what will be the final day of competition at this second stop of the BMW IBU World Cup. Bulgaria comes across the line in 14th, right behind Belgium, who finished 13th. Poland was 12th ahead of them. And Joanne Reed, back on the United States roster at the World Cup level. She's a two-time Olympian and a NCAA ski champion in the United States. And comes from a very famous line of speed skaters. Her mother was Beth Hayden, now Beth Reed, who was a bronze medalist in the Olympics in 1980. And her uncle, of course, Eric Hayden, the great five-time gold medal winner in speed skating in 1980, legendary American Olympian. Joanne Reed continuing to bring that family tradition of great excellence to the sport of biathlon. She brings home the United States home in 15th place.
What a shame for Estonia after such a great start, now ending up on the penalty loop. That's 17th place at the end of the race for Estonia. That was after being in second place when Ermits was taking leg 2. That's sometimes the case in biathlon, where if a team is unexpectedly high up the order, puts a lot of pressure on the athletes thereafter to maintain it, and that can be really hard to cope with in the shooting range.
There you see the overall results. Sweden the winner today by 40 seconds over Norway. Germany takes third. Finland with another solid performance at fourth. Slovakia continuing to climb up the order, finishing 5th. France 6th, Czechia 7th, Austria 8th, Switzerland 9th, and rounding out the top 10, Ukraine. So Sweden is victorious in the second running of the relay of this season. The second relay, a better performance than last week. Sweden was off the podium in 4th and takes their rightful position at the top of the order in the second relay of the season. I'm waiting for, I don't have the live cups here, but looking for the, looks like we have it updated as Sweden now projected to be the leader of the World Cup relay score for this season with 145 points over France, who drops from first to second. Sweden
Hanna, congratulations. What a great team effort, and to bring it home with a bit of excitement, but yeah, I think it must be feeling great.
Yes, the other girls did amazing on the other leg, so I just had to bring it home. I would say that I enjoyed the situation, and of course I felt a little bit of the nerves on the shooting range, but I think that's pretty normal.
Definitely, and you said a great team effort from everyone. I also seen a team touch with your hair today.
Yeah, it was actually Sara, who is not racing today. She was like, I have some glitter, but also the Swedish bands. We spared the glitter for a later time, but the Swedish ribbons, I think that's was the lucky charm for today.
Definitely was. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So some self-deprecating honesty from the great champion Hanna Öberg, but really I don't think it was as bad of a performance as she was maybe letting on. She's 23 seconds behind Lou Jean Monod, who railed through the shots and skied very well. Minkinen was the second fastest leg of the fourth line, voiced 20 seconds back, and Hanna Öberg, certainly a solid performance, but you know, she had such a big lead, she wasn't really needed to do her very, very best, and she did everything it took to win.
Yeah, and certainly you want to have your best performance to show what you're capable of at Olympic Games. If there was a head-to-head battle there, Hanna Öberg might have lost it, but there wasn't, and she did exactly what she needed to get the results. Skied fast, shot quickly, and it was enough.
Hanna Öberg brings home the win for Sweden. There you see the relay scores as Sweden takes the lead with the victory today by 145 points for their efforts, finishing fourth in the opener and first today. France, for all their efforts, they finished sixth today after winning the first one, and they dropped one spot to second spot. And Czechia maintaining the bronze medal spot after two World Cups with 106 points. Today they finished seventh. They opened the season with a third place finish in Östersund. So that is the order of the relay teams. Norway moves up 8 spots after finishing 13th in the opening relay. Today, they were second, and they moved into the 5th spot, up 8 places with 103 points. Finland stays in 6th with 100. Italy drops 2 from 2nd to 4th with 105 points. And there are the nation's cup scores, which is a combination of both relay scores and points scored in individual competitions to show who is the best nation per gender. And there you see France is still atop that score, not surprisingly.
everybody knows.
We are searching for Hannah and we just found her. The Olympic champion Adamis speedway.
Ja, där har vi.
Once again, one more time, a warmly welcome here, BMW IBU World Cup Biathlon Relay Competition Prize Giving. In third place, auf Platz Nummer 3, Anna Weidel, Julia Dannheimer, Janina Hettich-Weitz, Vanessa Funk, Deutschland, Germany.
The German faithful, the fans of the sport, they are big in number. And they expect podium finishes by their biathlon team. In the opening World Cup competition, they only finished 11th. And I say only because that is what the Germans see when they see an 11th place next to the German relay efforts. Today, a little more online with their expectations. A third place finish in the second relay gives the Germans a very solid feeling moving into the rest of the season and kind of rights the ship from what happened for them in Östersund. And there are going to be some happy people in Germany tonight to see their national team on the podium again. I think much of this effort was the exact same lineup that finished 11th in the World Cup, giving them all a second chance. And that athlete, the 20-year-old Tannheimer, I think in particular, a chance to do the same thing she did last week, but come through this time, and she did just that, Scott.
Absolutely, and it takes a team to get up there, especially pulling up from 11th to 3rd. It's a huge step up for the Germans, and I think we can expect to see them on the podium more for the rest of this World Cup.
Caroline Offigstad-Knoten and Marin Kirkeide, Norway.
Well, you can say what you want about the German faithful and the fans expecting more of their athletes, but no country expects success in biathlon or cross-country skiing more than Norway. And if you look at the bib number that they're wearing, bib 13, that's where they finished last weekend. Second place this weekend, a big righting of the ship for the Norwegians, Scott.
Such a well-earned comeback as well. It's nice to see Germany, who were 11th last time, 3rd this time, Norway 13th last time, 2nd this time. That's where they belong, and that's where everybody's expecting them to be. So this is almost like a rewriting of the order, and it's lovely to see the Norwegians back where they belong.
No penalty loops for the Norwegians today. 9 extra rounds, just 2 more than their top rung on the podium, Sweden, with 7 extra rounds. Germany, 1 less in 3rd with 8 extra rounds. United States finished 15th, 2 penalty loops and 11 extra rounds. Canada right behind them in 16th with 3 penalty loops and 13 extra rounds. And 18 teams got to the finish line.
Winner, champion, team relay competition here in Hochfilzen 2025. Ella Halvarsson, Anna Magnusson, Elvira and Hanna Öberg, Sweden.
We saw it in the lineup, we saw it on the stats sheets before the gun went off, and what we saw was delivered by the Swedes. An absolute world-class performance with the strongest team fielded, arguably equal with France. France struggling a little bit today. They won the first relay of the season, but France could only come across the line today in 6th. And the top of the order, it's Sweden once again. Ella Halvarsson, Anna Magnusson, Elvira Öberg, and Hanna Öberg. And the Swedish biathlon train is rolling towards the Olympic Games, and they're back on top of the world.
Like that.
Letter? Ja.
Tack.
Tack så mycket.
Sweden is happy.
The second day of the BMW IBU World Cup Biathlon in Hochfilzen for 2025 ends with a golden performance by Sweden in the women's 4x6 kilometer relay. That'll bring us to the conclusion of day 2 of 3 from Hochfilzen. Please join us tomorrow at noon Central European time for the men's 4x7.5 kilometer relay and the women's pursuit happening at 2:45 in the afternoon tomorrow, December 14th, Sunday. We hope you'll enjoy the rest of your Saturday wherever you are. For Scott Dixon, Chad Somala saying so long from Hochfilzen, where Sweden takes the gold.
Thank you.